welcome, welcome. This is Joanna from the Early Morning Ascension Show, and we're so happy to connect with you. And we have a beautiful, special new experience that we are going to be adding to our weekly videos of harmonization with spirit as these new earth experiences are coming and being blessing of our experience on earth as humans, creating greater spiritual matter because we are spirit creating matter. And now that we're awakening to it, it's so fun to call in others, our sacred soul tribe, to collaborate, to commune with sacred energy as we are all sacred, remembering that we are sacred and aligning with that as spirit. And I'm calling in a beautiful sacred soul tribe member that is with us constantly in our classes and in our sacred co-creation. So I wanted to welcome you here today, Christina.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to be of communion in this special way. We always have our connections in classes, and we've shared so much together. And our journeys are parallel in so many ways. And what we wanted to talk about today is those of you that are new, and we know that these videos will reach many in the collective right now that's going through ascension and awakening, what really that is. And just talking about the experience that we have as, sacred brothers and sisters, human family, friends, family of family, the experience of our outer world and how we can bring these topics to the forefront and communicate them quite openly and freely. There will be grand awakenings across our planet, especially for all of the collectives of children that are awakening to many special gifts that might not have anyone to talk to or understand their gifts. And it might seem quite, daunting and scary for them because these experiences and discussions are not readily talked about and offered to them in their social paradigm. And so it's really important that we begin talking about families and transitions, why the transitions even occur, and it's because of the awakening process, tapping more deeply into who we are as spirit and why that makes such a difference in our life. And because we're being led and directed by spirit as opposed to being led and directed by outer experiences or conformity of limitation and fear-based experiences. And so we wanted to have a discussion between divine feminines, between friends and colleagues and soul tribe, so that we can open the door of communion and sacred connection and honoring the process of who we are individually and as individual spirits, assisting others in their own sacred connections, bringing forward inspirational ideas and tips, as well as just allowing the process to be less vague for those that are new on the ascension path, less scary, less daunting. You will get through it, even the most challenging of dark nights of the soul. You will get through it. You can do this. And it really helps when you have sacred soul tribe. And so find your soul tribe. Find someone that you can really be raw and genuine and vulnerable with, so that you can talk about your experiences, share your experiences, because they will be transformative in every way. Understanding your ascension cycle is really, really important, because then you get to understand why you're feeling what you're feeling, why your dreams and your visions and these experiences that are incredible and miraculous are coming to the forefront. And having that person and those groups of people that you can really share yourself in that unique way, that you become alive in a new and different way, because you're connecting at a soul and spirit level, which is what we've been missing in humanity for eons. And really allowing that spirit to live through you, because you are a soul of many different aspects of lifetimes and lineage and experiences and wisdoms and intelligences, and you now get to share yourself as a soul. And so we're coming out of these really limiting stories that have held us in such small and really damaging boxes of not being able to express our spirit, to explore our spirit, and to experience our spirit in new ways. And so it really helps when you have that sacred soul communion and that tribe that you can really share yourself vulnerably with, really share yourself with authenticity, so that you know that what you're going through is normal for you. Everybody's path is unique. Your perspective and your experience and your flow of who you are as growing spirit, every single person will have a different ascension flow. Some will flow quite quickly if they're meant to do really great. And I say great in the impact and the amount of diversity that their soul has acquired through many lifetimes. again, when we say words like that, often those listening for the first time will have a quantitative or qualitative effect on what I say, and that's not our offering at all. It is always about just the words that we use, because you cannot put someone that awakens at the last minute that has an infinite number of lifetimes of gifts and put that into a qualitative or quantitative experience, because we can't. We just simply can't. The great word that I mean is that that soul comes with a great bounty of responsibility. That soul comes with a great bounty of gifts and skills and wisdoms, and one cannot ever compare and should never compare, because then that's staying within those limited programs of egocentric, the doing and the getting and the being and the judging and the winning or losing and the comparisons and competing. That is not the spiritual experience of simply expressing yourself as love and creativity. The joy of spirit and how you express it, your gifts being activated in it, and it has nothing to do with the ego experience of what our outer reality has always shown us. And so it's just a normal process just to get over the ego and allow yourself to know that whatever your gifts are, however you awaken in the flow of your process, to recognize, to acknowledge, to accept who you are, and then embellish your gifts and really flow within all that your soul is offering you. It's a flow of energy. You're allowing that flow of source. And why acknowledgement, acceptance, and allowance is always a part of that. Getting to know your ascension process, your ascension cycle, usually on the full moons and new moons, that you can experience these deep releases, and then processing and integrating the soul's lessons, processing and integrating, giving voice to the inner shadow, all are aspects of the evolution of human becoming more and more light. Because as we're becoming more and more light, we're tuning into what was always there. That's what light does. Light activates light. Light begets light. And so you then begin activating greater light within your cells. You take on greater light, you're processing greater light, and then you become intrigued and explore, because light is the exploration of spirit. It is a harmonic song that most cannot see or hear. And so all of these beautiful miracles that I've written about in my books allow us to truly tap into and flow into the process of life, which is really just evolutionary moment after evolutionary moment. And so releasing ourselves from these really limiting systems of ego on who we thought we were, what we thought existed within us, and what we thought we existed within is totally being thrown out the window now and being flopped upside down, which is what we talked about, the upside down effect. And that's really what ascension is. It makes you go within and say, wow, everything I thought was important to me is no longer important to me, which was the essential reason why we manifested the virus and many other things that will unfold in our reality, because it was the energy and the density of those experiences were always there. And they're just being brought because that's what light does. It unfolds what was always there and hidden, as well as also what is always miraculous. And so the path of ascension and the path of awakening, I wanted to have a beautiful co-creation and a communion, because there's so many people that are moving through this beautiful, exciting, and miraculous experience, and taking that time every day as we talk about that daily self-care, just as you get ready in the morning, to really create your intentions, to create your balancing and your centering of who you are, and recreating that story from within and grounding that story every day, and allowing the new soul aspects to come forward. And then again, that beautiful evolutionary experience day by day as you're making these new higher vibrational choices, because you're understanding who you are in a new way. And then to have a way that, these are very personal experiences that won't be the same for every person, but these are generalized unfoldings of the process of ascension. And there is a process. There absolutely is, because it's alchemy. You're changing from a very dense experience to a lighter experience. And why you feel that change when you're going through a huge release, you feel lighter afterwards, because you've allowed that density to be released from all of your multidimensional systems, which again has never been taught in our traditional experiences of home and lineage and dogma, as well as education. So we are multidimensional beings. It does absolutely affect every part of who we are, and why this will be important in our future, our now future, that we're all experiencing this huge, grand collective awakening. And where do each of us fall in this? It's freaking a lot of people out. We can see that, right? We can see that people are like, wow, why is all this coming about? Why is this coming? At least we're asking those questions. And then there's the, vaccine, no vaccine. All of these are beautiful, perfect experiences, because at least we're questioning now. At least we're allowing ourselves to align in a higher vibration of, well, what do I really feel? What's my true story? I don't have to fall in alignment with what others are dictating for us. No, I have sovereignty. And so it's all very purposeful to the grander design that Spirit, the Creator, has for us. And so in this really quick synopsis, I know we can't, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've come many timelines and many lifetimes as a master and a teacher. My heart is so passionate about teaching. And today we wanted to title this experience as this beautiful co-creative tribe experience, to introduce what we're going to talk about today in a more intimate way. I'm going to go into channel with my beautiful colleague, and we're going to do somewhat of an interview and talk about the process of awakening and our experiences individually, as long as Spirit channeling with us. And we're going to talk about how we are rewriting the human story, and it's meant to be a very passionate and a very sacred and a very unique and beautiful journey. And so, although most often than not, it does not feel comfortable, and it does not feel like it's a passionate, beautiful experience, but the more that you soak within that daily self-reflection and giving yourself time to process what you've just released and what you've been moving through, you'll feel the miraculousness of Spirit with you in every moment. And you'll really appreciate that you absolutely made time to love yourself and to honor yourself and really create the rewrite for you. And it really truly is. The Ascended Masters, have offered that the portal to the 5D is the joy of Spirit, because all things are Spirit, seen and unseen, all things in between and above and below. And so it's just about us harmonizing and activating Spirit, getting to know ourselves as Spirit through all of the soul fragments that we're now integrating and releasing dense stories that are not ours. They're from lineage of limitation and fear-based experiences. We get to choose to change humanity in all moments through our own personal experiences that are ever required as the puzzle pieces to a grander plan that Spirit, creator of all life. And so we're calling in the spirits, and we're calling in the creators and all of the councils of light that are with us in this very special and sacred communion of this experience. And we thank you and we welcome you. Thank you for coming to this experience and our introduction on this experience of our spiritual co-creation. Thank you, Spirit. And so thank you. And so how would you like to share your personal experience about awakening and what it meant for you, and how you understood that you were even on a process of awakening, Christina?
I was just thinking about this the other day, actually, because some people might perceive that my awakening happened within the past year and a half, but truly that is not the story at all. It's kind of like when you look at a glacier and you see somebody that's done all this work and you just think, oh, that happened really fast. When I really unpacked all of this, I realized that my own personal awakening happened a decade ago.
Yes.
It happened in 2011. And literally everything you've said was me. I changed jobs. I changed friends. Everything. My life was completely fine. I had this big time, job title. I had this money, and I had my own place. I had seemingly what society would say. I hit all the marks. I had everything.
Yeah.
But I wasn't truly happy.
Yeah.
And I remember I always hit all these awards and, got all these big bonuses and stuff like that. And I remember sitting in the award ceremony thinking, okay, now what? There was nothing that really was gratifying me. So it was like a mixed blessing.
Yeah.
And so I decided to change career paths. I went back to school. And then when I did that, my own personal awakening cracked open, because I really started to recognize that the child abuse that I had endured
Yes.
Was really coming at me full force.
Yes.
And that was kind of impeding me from truly having that inner happiness that I was seeking through external things, but I didn't realize it. And I didn't even know that at the time. It was like everything was dismantling.
Yes.
It felt very disorienting. I did go see a therapist for a short time because I knew I needed somebody to talk about it all with.
Yes.
And I needed it to be a third party because my family didn't understand me. It was kind of like, well, you have this great life. Why are you rocking the boat?
Yes.
So to speak. And that's truly when I had my personal awakening, and realizing that the child abuse that I was running from and hiding was now staring me in the face and saying,
yes,
I'm ready to face you. Are you ready to face me?
Yes, I'm so happy
Yeah.
because we talk about, and people often question, the number one question people ask when they're going through profound life changes, and oftentimes they come through the most uncomfortable experiences, why? Well, you're creating these experiences at a very subtle subconscious level, because there's wounding within all of you, the multidimensional understanding of who you are, whether it's in the chakras and the fields, or your co-creative experiences on all earths. And it's time for you to awaken to the gift that's holding the equal measure of wisdom and intelligence to heal that. And so we manifest things from the very subtlest of levels. And awakening, they're also showing me that in that frequency of change, it allows us, when we are going through change allows us everything within our physical and psyche makeup. It allows everything to be shaken up and lifted about when we're our most vulnerable. So when we're going through change, everything is like thrown up in the air. It's like, I have no idea what to expect. That's when spirit can get through to us, because we're not in this program of constant routine and habitation. The habituation of what we always do and what we always think and what we always, it's such a steeped routine that so many have trouble getting out of. They're constantly on the wheel of progression of work and getting and doing and making more money and whatever those progressions are. It's a routine of matrix energy, if you will, of constant behaviored programs and belief systems that one must step outside. And the only way spirit can do that oftentimes is with a big tower moment. So those tower moments create this upside down effect where everything is up in the air, and we are, the psyche and the psychology of our belief systems are at their most vulnerable, because now we have to rewrite something new. And so spirit will try in every way, the higher self and the soul and the inner child and the inner wounding will manifest things in the most subtlest of profound ways, because that's what was needed to break open the gates of who we really are and allow that light to get in and say, no, you're far more than what you've been allowing yourself to experience. And we're going to go on a ride here. And it's not going to be comfortable, but you'll absolutely appreciate it in the end.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more, because through the dismantling of everything that I knew, and, like not feeling connected to friends in the way that I did, and we'll just call it a little bit of an isolation.
Yes.
That was when I really developed my relationship with God, was through all that, because that was kind of the only mainstay that I had. Because sometimes I would have people that maybe could support me and sometimes they couldn't. And I think it's really important to realize through your awakening process that, not everybody's going to understand where you're coming from. And that's okay. Yeah. Because they're kind of going through stuff too.
Yes.
So
do you think that, I want to ask you a question, because most people that come to me for private sessions, they oftentimes because we always say that your awakening comes when you look back. A lot of your awakening occurs when, wow, that's how I processed my life. That's how I habituated my life. And wow, I was so limited in my expensiveness of who I thought I was. Like I had the belief systems of who was I, what did I exist within? They were very limited. They were other people's stories. So what I get asked most often, and I want your opinion on it for your experience, is that when you're going through that awakening process, do you actually know that you're going through an awakening? Is there something that, or is it just the trauma and all of these experiences that are coming up saying, well, why is all of a sudden now I'm looking at life in a different way? Why do I look and feel like I'm going through something when everybody else around me seems to continue in the routine of things? And why things seem to be so much more important? The value system of who you are and how you look at life and your perspectives of life seem to, in an awakening process, seem to be amplified, because that spirit awakening within you to see your life in a new way, to see who you are in a new way. And so most often when people come forward in these profound experiences, they're very subtle shifts and changes of, there's something going on here and I can't quite put my finger on it. And they don't really know they're going through an awakening. And so let's back up on your personal experience when, you had that unfolding of change. When you were going through this experience of change, was it just a matter to get through the change that you allowed yourself to become entangled with spirit? Or did you have something did you have that experience of emotional, because usually when we go through the challenge of change, we often immediately go to how we lack and we're not good enough. We usually go to that, why did I not do a good job? It's that self-deprecation,
Mm-hmm.
why is this happening? Whether it's a divorce, whether it's a separation, was I not good enough? All of those lack of self-worth, which is what awakening does. It awakens you to your self-worth. And so let's talk about that. Let's go back to that experience.
I definitely would say at the time, I did not know I was going through an awakening. I didn't know. But I think my inner soul self, my spirit of knowing, knew that, girl, it is time that we address this, So I knew that like there were things that I wanted, like marriage and a family, that wound was, blocking me, if you will, from really getting there. So it was a good friend of mine who I was able to confide in, just kind of had suggested, maybe you should go see somebody, and going to see somebody to unload it was actually really great. That was really great. And as I was doing that, I was still kind of convinced that like, oh, I just got to kind of get through this. And then, this little blip, and then we'll be good. I had no idea that it really was going to last for an entire decade. Yeah. And there were great moments in between. And through that, I remember sitting in my bedroom the one night and just like not trying to figure things out, right? Because I was always able to navigate my life, or so I thought, you know? And so that element, I guess, of control and ego, we'll just have to put it in those terms.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I surrendered myself truly to God, to spirit, to the divine creator, because I was just like, I know your presence is in my life. I can feel this, like I was starting to have all these wild, vivid dreams and these little nuances that I couldn't deny them, but then I couldn't tell them to people because they wouldn't get it, So I'm like, okay, there is something here. You are trying to speak to me. You are trying to help me. So I surrendered that night, and I just said, whatever you want me to do, like, just make sure that, I'm financially supported. I have a roof over my head, and I will follow you.
Yes.
With whatever you want me to do, I will follow you.
Yes.
And so I guess it was that kind of communion.
Yes.
That I finally acknowledged, which is truly what paved the way for the rest of this decade to unfold. So I guess to answer it, I had no idea that I was really being awakening. I just thought I was kind of getting through, a childhood trauma, and I could just breeze past it like most things that I did. But through unpacking it, I learned so much about my inner self, how to take care of myself, how to love myself. And to your point, like you said, anybody that's gone through various types of abuse, usually has, sorry, my phone fell, usually has a self-worth challenge. Yes. So I realized that was a big lesson for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our entire, when we look at it micro macro, and we always talk about micro macro because here we are as adults paving the way and opening the gates for so many that are awakening, and so many of them are children. A huge paradigm of children that are already awakened in the sense that they have greater access to their intuitive bodies and their understandings, but they've been taught the same archaic systems that we've been taught and sold. Mm-hmm. And so it's important for us to create such, sacred and honoring exploration of, the needs and the desires of the inner child, so that they don't, go down that path of, trying to heal their inner child, at 50, when we could just heal it now and start exploring creative expression, our spiritual belonging in all things, because all things are spirit outside of religion. And there's always a part of religion and its need within our society, but we are spiritual beings now awakening to who we are as spiritual beings. And every person on this planet is connected to souls. Our one experience of who we are as individuals with God and the body that we belong to, our connection to souls and the souls on our planet are huge. So you have one body and you also have a soul, but your soul could be connected to 5 or 6 or 10 other people on this planet. And why you feel that connection of soul tribe connection. And so that soul has its threads within the DNA. It has its threads within why you're here and what you're here to manifest and co-create and help others with. But the children have a much more earlier recognition of this and acknowledgement, but it's nowhere in their outer world. And that's why so much confusion and so many children go through so much painstaking navigation to find out who they are, because nothing in their outer world is matching what they know to be inside. And they end up closing themselves off. They end up retreating within themselves or creating self-harm or, moving into addiction because it's that outer experience they're looking for their own value and validation and belonging. And Absolutely. So the process of awakening, when you look back at everything, you can kind of see where the dots fit and where the dots were meant to fit into place. And it's all a beautiful and elegant journey of who we are as creators. And so allowing us to be that part of that puzzle, to fit our own pieces in, is what we're really learning through the awakening process, because it's reclaiming our sovereignty. It's reclaiming the fact that there are traditional systems that want us to fit into boxes of beliefs, enforcements, even our words that we use, law and all of these things. Living in the highest experience of spiritual freedom and flowing and liberation and sovereignty, it's each individual being the fullest expression of their own creative passion, who they are as passion. And so let's talk about passion. Let's talk about the discomfort of awakening is working through the psyche wounds created in the limiting stories. It's creating in the versions of who we thought we were and who the versions we were told, whether it be through whatever outside structure, because now we're going to turn it upside down. We're not assuming that we are any representation or ownership or belonging to anything outside of us. Now we're going to go back within, and we're going to see that we can create a reality from the inside out, meaning that I belong with me. I love who I am. I'm going to start creating a story about me. And this story is absolutely number one, going to be aligned with my creative belonging and exception of beautiful skills and gifts, as the exception. And I'm going to use this as my expression of who I am. And that's going to be the number one factor for my fulfillment, because I want to know that I can fulfill all of my life's needs, whether it's a home, whether it's a beautiful mate, beautiful friends that honor and value me and really lift me up when I'm in those moments of need. And I can also do that for them. And I can begin to be a part of this socio-altruistic community. And those are all intrinsic. They're all beautifully intrinsically threaded within who we are as spirit. It's just natural. Spirit just wants to be spirit, And so this upside down effect is that, okay, well, this is going to be an inside out thing. It's going to be an inside out experience from now on. And I'm no longer going to place importance or value or belonging in anything outside of me, because I know that I'm belonging and I'm valued and I'm beautiful in these gifts that God has given me in spirit and the creator. And this is where this passionate experience of who we are. And so let's talk about, our own unique creative expression and why that's so important for awakening. Why is our passion of spirit and the fulfillment of that? That's really the end, not the end result, because it's always evolving. But when we awaken, we can't wait just to get back to spirit and create with spirit, because it's so fulfilling. Now, everything on the outside just seems to fall away because you absolutely know that there is a purpose and a reason, and the beautiful majesty and the threads of that is so incredibly deep and rich and expansive. And how can we begin to make it more readily understandable and bring it to a family communion or a family conversation where there's people in your family that perhaps might not want to talk it and communicate and get entangled at your level? How do you be your most expressive experience of you? And there's so many people because our world is just awakening now. So many people are going to go through transitions where couples will be coming and going and leaving and shifting, and families are going to find their new ways, because there might be some parts of the family that want to still navigate 3D for a long time. They want to still navigate and release and move within their own soul story of really diving deep within those soul lessons. And the only way to do that is by experiencing them through, manifesting lots of control and limitation. And that's absolutely necessary for that soul. Again, there's no judgment on any of it. So understanding that every soul has a purpose and a path and a plan. It's not to be judged or condemned in any way, because God has a plan. And so what we wanted to talk about is threading it in this creative experience of passion and purpose through something that's happened in our collective recently. And we're going to thread it all back. Is the experience of Gabby, the girl that went missing and was later found dead in a certain experiential part of Wyoming. And she was a young girl who was, a blogger, a travel blogger. And she had experienced, she was going on a trip with her fiance. And of course, the story is far more threaded than we want to know, that we have access to, and we don't assume to know in any way. Mm-hmm. But her story is an experience of many women and what many people at every age and every experience on planet Earth moves through, whether it's, your sexual preference, whether it's a race, whether it's, the aged or the children. That experience is only one. And as the information came out, she was a beautiful, Caucasian girl who experienced something very tragic in following her dreams and in following her passions to be something really creative that, she had expressed. Many didn't understand why she wanted to do it, and to, give up the traditional experience of what others, had done, the conformity. And she had traveled and wanted to create a blog, and that was her dream. And she had experiences around others not accepting that of her, and came to a tragic end. And only 2 days later, it had come out that in that same and similar area, there was up to 800 women that had gone missing. And from 2011 to 2021, from 2021. And so in that 11-year period, almost 800 women, and very various, and the majority were Indigenous. If I'm understanding that story correctly.
I didn't know there were that many women.
Yeah. And so we had talked about this in other classes and other experiences, because there was many comments and many, judgments that people had made about every experience, because that's what we normally do, right? When we're living in that experience of ego, we often judge the story, and we often say to the story of abuse and neglect and all of the things that could have occurred, and we don't know the ideals of the story and the notions of the story. And then, of course, there is the question of her race and the energies in the field of, there's an experience of so many women previous to her that had gone missing, and 800. And
crazy.
So instead of looking at it from a point of, again, that separation experience, but her soul, it was shown to me that was something so beautiful, is that her experience of her soul was to come forward and to open the gates for all of those women that were not seen at that global collective level of a missing person.
Wow.
And so when we think of the God's plan and the direct plan of Source Creator, and no parent could ever imagine moving through such an experience, when you go through not only an awakening process, you see the elegance. And we say elegance because there's always a higher vibrational reason, just as our virus has, just as anything that unfolds that may seem tragic and highly unnecessary and damaging and painful, that there's the elegant story of really returning within to say, as humans and as a collective family, how can we not allow in our future for 800 women to go missing and not question, and not have the global search parties, and not have the global recognition? And of course, we often allow ourselves to say all of these experiences are absolutely valid and relevant in every moment and every situation for the human healing, because there will be more stories that will unfold. And she paved the way for the gates to be open. And one could say that was, I'm only offering this as a potential musing as to a grander story of why anything happens in the way that it does, even in the highest tragedy. But she allowed for the sacrifice, and we say sacrifice in the way that only God, would ever, because it's not that at all. But she allowed her story to be that of the paving of the way of those 800 women that did not get that experiential.
She really did.
She allowed her story to be the paving of the way of a grander story that it touches everyone. Everyone has been touched Everyone's been touched by abuse, neglect, following your own dreams and having them, negated in any way that it is, whether it's a verbal negate or demeaning of people not believing in you and not challenging you to just allowing you to live your highest and your best life, and being empowered and inspired to do so. And that's only one story, but there's 800 before her just in that one area. And what we want to return back to again, as a collective level, each and every one of us have the most incredible potentiality to come forward and offer ourselves in a way that neglect and abuse doesn't have to occur, that missing peoples don't have to occur, that the stories that unfold are directly related to the value system through which we've held of ourselves and our communities, and why the systems of egocentricity, of oligarchy, have allowed these systems of value and belonging and self-appreciation and self-value, and have really been the undercurrent of every ill and every error and every war that's ever occurred, because we've not known ourselves as spirit and the passionate expression and vessel of spirit. Right from birth, if we're given these opportunities to return to who we are as the passionate expression of spirit, the most creative experience that anyone could experience is to harmonize with ourselves as spirit, and then to express it openly and freely and with liberation, not fearing that we tread out on this new miraculous path, and be absolutely supported in doing so. Just like many hybrid children on other planets of higher vibrational planetary experience, they're moving in about their life at the age of 3, because the planet is fully supporting their growth potential, and they know where they're going. They're intuitively linked harmonically with every heart on the planet, with every aspect of life on the planet.
It's so beautiful.
But we do have to consider that the things that are unfolding now in our reality, we go back to the word, because Jesus taught me at the beginning of my awakening the understanding of sacrifice, because we're now in a different experience of sacrifice, and it doesn't have to occur through the loss of life. The sacrifice meaning that she had a story and a dream that didn't get fulfilled, and the sacrifice was not only the expression of her beautiful life and the experience of what she was here to tell. She was here to tell a beautiful story, but her story is beautiful because of all the opening and the divine healing and the divine resolve and resolution to 800 other women. And we can't under
the theme of the oneness is what, like, as I'm listening to you, is how can we all become one with this situation to turn it around, to make sure that it doesn't continue in our society.
And so in our class this week, when I was offering that as the passionate and compassionate, because we think about the word passion and who we are as vessels of light, we're vessels of magnetic and elemental experience. We are connected with the moon and the stars and the sun and everything about us. Our biochemistry, the physics of who we are, the science of who we are is spirit in motion. Our bodies would not be able to survive without the spirit. Our bodies would not be able to survive without the magnetics and the science and the physics of all that we are. And the passion about this is that God, at the highest level of the creatorhood and all creatorships of all elegance of all life, whether it's a quasar, a planet, or a galaxy, or anything's in between, there's always that dance that occurs, and the balancing that each and every one of us have responsibility for our light, and how we have responsibility to feed and nourish ourselves in a beautiful way that can fulfill our spiritual passion. Because we're in the awakening process, we're now harmonizing with it. Yes, I am here for a reason. I'm here to make a difference in who I am as an expression of light, as an expression of humanity. And how can I rewrite my version of humanity's story so that I can feel as if I'm really passionate about who I am. I'm living my dream. I'm allowed to go out and navigate an experience that's beautiful and fresh and real, and changing the face of humanity's story. And it's a harmony with spirit. It's a harmony as spirit, because we are the vessels of passion for spirit. Spirit loves nothing more than to birth new gifts and skills through us, and we're the vessels that now have to awaken up and say, okay, spirit, live through me, surrender, I surrender, and show me how. And that's a part of the aspirant's path, is to release more and more of the having to know, the having to work it out physically, as far as, the whole physical, matter experience that we have about getting jobs and getting and doing, and, the constant roller coaster that keeps us on, away from spirit and separated from spirit. But it really is a passionate experience. And her story is, and again, with the highest level of importance on all threads of what we're talking about, it's one beautiful experiential story. And there's millions, if not billions, of people around our globe that don't live within the 5% of those that have the potential and the resources, because historically it's always been about resources. You know, those ones that get to live that passionate experience life, they get to travel, they get to do what they want and be whatever your passions are, returning within and what makes me happy, what really makes me fulfilled. And so let's go back within these stories that we've been talking about, and why passion is so exciting, and what that passion factor allows us to understand at global and collective levels, and why we see unfolding what we do. Have we held ourselves as passionate, beautiful experiences as spirit? Have we valued?
I don't think we have.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the value factor and why self-worth and self-value is so important in what we're talking about, and other things that occur in the collective, and what's that showing us about our value of one another, our value of whether it be minority groups. And so why do we even have minority groups? And where is our upside? Where's our perspective shifting now? And tie that in with passion, and tie that in with why we're really here as a collective for one another.
I feel like as you go through your process of awakening, once you kind of reach a certain level, and I think it's individual for everybody, you do start to realize the things that you're passionate about, because you have done that surrender and the letting go. Because, okay, well, A didn't work, B didn't work, C didn't work, D didn't work. I guess I gotta, just let go and go within. And I think that the way that our society is structured, the element of unworthiness ties in tandem with these external things. So it's just this perpetual cycle that's never going to fulfill you. And I think a lot of people right now that may seemingly be coming awake, I think they're starting to awaken to that, well, if I do this, I have this freedom. If I do this, I have that freedom. And it's, no, I have the freedom. I've always have it.
Yes.
I have the right to stand in it.
Yes.
And I don't know, for you, but I know for myself, I was a little, as I was rebuilding myself and learning to speak highly of myself, I was a little shy.
Yes.
In just kind of admitting that the power that I have individually, which then when you acknowledge that, it transcends to the collective.
Yes. Yeah.
When somebody else sees you sitting in your power, shining your light, they know it. They know that frequency. That frequency is going out there. Just like us talking right now, it's creating something beautiful, just as when you're sitting in a place of, a lower density, the universe knows that too. And so starting with the self-love and starting to acknowledge and honor who you are is truly how you do raise yourself up, but we're just not taught to think that way.
Yes.
And I have learned so much from you about sitting in your power and, branching out, expanding out. You are just really a beautiful teacher.
So what they wanted to point out, because your story is so much like so many others in the professional world, when you have change and challenge coming on and everything gets pulled out from underneath you, as spirit does, if you're not on path, and you're sitting with traditions, and traditions are not your path. And so let's talk about that, because Gabby, her story, and just, I'm using this only as an example because I don't know her personally and I don't have indication. I'm only speaking from the intuitive energies that are coming from that story. And so I do not pretend, and I would never dictate to know anything about that story personally. I'm only pulling on the energies from that story of what I read, and that's it. And of course, what spirit is guiding me. Let's talk about vibrational stories of conformity. talk about vibrational stories of what we were born within, what we were taught and told, what we were sold, any of the social conformed experiences that we tend to, at a very early age, really take ourselves out of passion, that creative passion that each and every one of us come with, that each and every one of us are, the passionate vessel of spirit in expression of every way. Because as we're coming into higher alignment with our higher self, those 3 E's are always offered to us. To experience ourselves as spirit, to explore ourselves as spirit, and express ourselves as spirit. That is the creative joy. That is that portal to 5D. That is that portal that we just can't wait to get to spirit. We just can't wait to feel spirit and be with spirit. And of course, her story and conformed story, which so many of us go through, is that one of the first awakenings that we each have is that really, do I fit in this story of conformity? Is this role of whatever defines me? Does this really make me feel good about who I am and feel full and nourished? And is really the fullest expression of me? And obviously no, because not anybody can be placed in one definition or role. And roles and definitions will be kind of tossed aside because, again, families will be going through transitions where they'll be branching off to go through their soul's journey in very adventurous and honoring ways, and have that be okay. Have the dismantling of things be okay. Have the dismantling and the deconstruction be okay. Because when you're on path, you absolutely know you're on path. It's a passionate experience of you. You're expressing you in the most passionate way. And they wanted me to also thread in when you were talking there isn't it lovely that the word compassion and passionate are of the same root, energy, vibration. And that is how spirit and how we have allowed ourselves to manifest the most miraculous experiences that all masters showed us and taught us. They brought forward their passion just to be the expression of joy and passion to a collective in any one timeline, any one era, any one religion, because masters were placed within religions, and they were done so in that reason. Actually, religions were wrapped around the masters. They came as the expression of spirit, and spirit and the divine plan at some level was honoring the creation of master in all things and in all ways, whether it be a divine feminine in everything. And this is where the divine plan of God comes through, and the elegance of spirit, the source creator, to allow others of all opportunities that, no, you're not too old. No, you're a divine feminine. You can still do whatever you want, and you still have leadership and beautiful excellence and wisdoms and intelligences and the fabric of society and becoming socio-altruistic, and all of your beautiful offerings are in alignment with that. And there is a grander design of elegance and plan within that passionate DNA wrapping and threading of who you are with spirit. And we've forgotten every part of that. And that awakening process aligns us with exactly that. The passionate part of who we are is the vessel of spirit. We're always being blessed in every way to become more passionate about ourselves. And in that, we become so compassionate because we see ourselves wrapped in love and elegance with spirit. We can't help but not be. We see that our life and how we express ourselves and how we experience ourselves and how we allow ourselves to become rich in beauty every day, if we so choose, to know that I can forgive myself, and I had a rough moment there and I was expressing myself from that wound and that pain, but here I am today and I want to get back up and I want to try again. And spirit's right there with you. And that's the compassion that we're now showing ourselves of going back within. And that compassion that we show ourselves within brings us better passion, greater passion of that. Wow, let's explore greater things today. And so we want to allow ourselves to really thread those vibrations together of compassion and passion. Because without the compassion of who you are on your process and your path, allowing yourself to have those highly deconstructive experiences and tower moments, and where you're on the floor of an apartment with no food and you're not sure where your food is going to come from, we all go through those moments of absolute deconstruction, and then you start rewriting your story in a new way. So let's talk about that as we finish off here. Let's talk about compassion and passion and why that is going to be a part of our human experience now and coming together, and how that is directly related to our intentions with spirit every day with our daily self-care and writing a new story for ourselves.
It's so beautiful. So as you were talking, I literally, because I'm kind of like a nerdy scientist, I literally kind of started seeing this formula written out. And it was like the singular passion of this particular story or situation has ignited the compassion within us to then ignite our passion to then further ignite the collective. So it's that beautiful story. I know you have various illustrations that you show, and you show just how one little speck, you just need one. You just need one. And then it connects and it threads with all these others. And then it becomes 5, and then it becomes 10, and then it becomes 100, 1,000, 100,000. Like, and it's just, as you're talking, like that is the theme. And I think that's the theme. That's what's happening with humanity right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean,
so the compassion is, and as you were saying,
there it is. There's the picture.
Yeah. So when you in spirit are awakening, and everyone, you're allowing yourself, very few people have time for daily self-care because their patterns and their routines are so strict. And we've never considered spiritual fulfillment and who we are as spirit. I say spirit again, outside of all religion. Then it's always threaded with it as well. And so we don't want to downplay any of it. And all those that know our teachings and offerings understand that, because it's a vibrational offering of the Christ consciousness, which is outside, but also included in religions. It's taking it to the highest version of who we are as spirit, the Metatronic sacred geometry, the harmonic song of spirit creator, our most infinite eternal life that most sacred texts were talked about, is that when we harmonize with the essence of who we are as spirit, the essence of spirit is something that cannot be defined, boxed in, or limited, or even put in any human words, because it's a constant moving, multidimensional song of spirit. It's our harmonic. It is our life. It's how we survive. It is how our body can survive in greater light body. That's the awakening process, where we're gathering in light, releasing density, and we're harmonizing in a greater light essence. That essence is a moving vibrational experience that those that have awakened can feel. Christ consciousness conduits, we can feel that essence. And if you really tune in, you can feel spirit with you and around you, and that's the essence of God. That's the essence of how you're navigating these experiences. And so anything happening, which will occur, you know, when our hearts are all threaded as a one human heart collective, in which many planets that have gone through Ascension have done and gone through, it's a 3-day process where our planet will be, you know, kind of shut down, if you will, in that we go into this stage of the womb and ready to be birthed as a collective whole, those that have chosen to be on this awakening process as a one heart. And that 3-day process is very sacred. Many misunderstand it. This is only my unique expression of how I feel about that experience. And it's a 3-day process through which our hearts, multidimensionally, and all that we are as biochemistry and the matter and the spirit, are all being transmuted and transformed in a 3-day process. It's like being birthed. Everything will be dark, and it will be allowing each and every one of us as masters and aspirants on the path to fully trust, fully honor, fully detach from everything that we thought was safe and real, and absolutely know that we are being held and coddled in the most miraculous, elegant way. And this has been talked about for eons. The understanding of what we have is attachment and fear, and through which it must be worked through. And that 3-day process is a part of those pulling out that density and those beliefs about how and why do we need the ability to feel safe, because we're always spirit. But of course, we've come in such separation and limitation. It requires great compassion for all of the experiences on earth, and all of the bodies, and all of the souls, and all experiences as us, as an awakened person. Not only are these our soul aspects in other bodies, other realms, other planets, but these are also our human collective, just for an example. Of course, there's many more. But as our hearts are threaded as one, anything that this person in India goes through, we would feel that, and we would offer the compassion. Our hearts would be opened, I'm talking as light quotient, the acceleration of who we are, as opened the bandwidth of who we are through our passion. Compassion and passion are linked because it is the connective energy and essence and the bridge of source. So if we're opening our hearts in compassion for someone that we think we might not know, but it's our one human family, our passion factor is opened, and we then birth those gifts and those experiences of wisdoms and intelligences and what we need to evolve this experience of human co-creation to a higher vibrational experience, which every person on our planet will be offering their passionate gifts. Their passionate gifts, again, as you said earlier, is kind of that equal equation. We're kind of giving back in compassion. It's like, wow, I understand what you're going through. I have a gift. Would you like to share it? Or I have this, here, have some. That's what passion and compassion are directly linked, which we've never in our human experience probably have ever really thought about and given time for. But that's a part of our awakening and our rewriting of our human story. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the exciting. We want to end this off with great excitement and great exhilaration about who we are becoming. In your personal experience, let's hear about your story rewrite and how how you can see yourself really getting excited about the unknown, really getting excited about what spirit might have in store for you that's directly related about who you are as spirit, ready to explore that in a passionate and compassionate way.
I had a beautiful, so this is just coming to mind because it just happened yesterday. I'm so overwhelmed by this meditative experience I had yesterday. Cause I've really been working on personally just to find the oneness, because, I want to not only continue to work on my ascension process, but I know that it's the collective that is the bigger thread.
Yeah.
So, I had this beautiful meditation where I literally saw all of my chakras like this kaleidoscope. I saw them collapse into one, and this huge beam of like white light just ran right through my body. And I have never experienced that type of bliss and peace, and I don't even have words for it. And I would love for every person on this planet to experience that. And I just look back and I was so overwhelmed. I thought, wow, all the work that is still happening, it will never be done. We'll always have something to work on. But all of that was just like this beautiful confirmation of, keep going and share this with people.
Yeah. And so that, just as soon as you said that collapsing, it's the rewrite of your chakra system, and you're being upgraded, and that chakra system says you've done everything you can with these chakras, and here we come anew, and it just wipes it with the crystal light, and you're just being recalibrated on every, multidimensional level, because you've got new stories now. You've got new wisdom that are inserted, right? Because your chakra systems that we talk about so often. And this is why it's so important that we have these communications at the family level and the friendship level and at work levels, because anything that we say is work, if it's not aligned with the grids, and if it's not aligned with our 5D program of light that are being bathed through each and every one of us, we get dreams and visions and synchronicities and all these beautiful experiences, because we're here to manifest the threading of a new world. So if we're not caring for doing that daily self-care and really caring for our cycle of who we're becoming, we miss the opportunity of really being rich in all of the miracles that spirit offers us, and really miss the opportunity to be rich in spirit and to be full of passion and compassion. And then it allows the stories and the wisdoms that are held within all of the intelligences that are the chakras, and there's far more upon the body and the fields than we understand. And they're always being upgraded and activated into something new for us to harmonize, in which spirit and many of the masters have offered to us as the eternal life. That eternal life offers us the continual regeneration and renewal of something so very sacred that nobody has ever taught us about. And we wonder why we have the aggression and the violence on our planet, and how can we change, creating more passionate and compassionate experiences from the earliest of birth, so that we always seek our inner value and our representation and our stories within ourselves, and releasing every vibrational story that has been limited and lack of and less than, and really allow ourselves to align in the highest vibration of those creatorhood experiences. Every facet of our vibrational reality will need that. How to navigate difficult and challenging situations that all move through, whether it's mental abuse, emotional abuse, various levels of mental illness, and various levels, and how most are not even understood, because it is a multidimensional experience that we walk in, and we carry many soul energies and lifetime remembrances and wounding. There's been much study done on the woundings of other lifetimes playing a part in our now wounding, and how we release them from many of our sessions that we hold, as well as vibrational healing and various trauma releases that we offer. And we talk about many of the blocks and the hurdles that many go through are Akashic and lineage, meaning that they didn't even happen in this lifetime. But that's the 51% of the karma that we're here healing from 3D to 5D. Many of these wounds and many of these energies that need to be released from the bodies, because we're carrying those stories until they're released. Because it's all about the value of who we are. And every lifetime we've come forward, we're saying, as a soul contract, of a vibrational contract, we're going to pick this, this, and this, and this to transcend, because it directly links to the collective issues of subjugation, limitation and fear-based
Mm-hmm.
energies that change us in a very multidimensional way. We can't, there's no way that it can be denied. We're
Right.
multidimensional beings, and every facet of our reality is changing and shifting. And how can we become more aware and more aligned and really, really passionate about who we can rewrite ourselves to be in that exploration? But your chakras have so much to offer you. There's so much life, and there's so much enlivened potentiation within you. I mean, it's unexplainable. There's nothing, there's nothing that can be explained. I mean, it's beyond explanation. So
Do you
incredible.
have did you have any kind of experience at all this week? I know you have many.
The biggest experience that I had this week was for the many women that I did a healing, and my teams were also showing me that in the future we're going to do sacred land ceremonies on those trauma spots where hundreds and hundreds of lives have been lost, because they showed me in that heart. I was doing a healing, and my heart chakra was activated because I was releasing the traumas of the women that had experienced those losses in those areas, and
Wow.
allowing them to go through the process of release and forgiveness, as well as my own, going through many experiences of having to navigate various levels of bullying and very navigational experiences of, spirit warfare and spell work and all of those that are so damaging. And this is what needs to be brought forward at a collective level, is understanding how, as spirit and the children are awakening at such early ages, how to recognize your gifts and use them as your passionate expression of who you are as spirit. That alignment that spirit birthed you here is a passion. Spirit birthed you in passion, and we're meant to be passionate, aligned with that. And then that heart activation allowed me to really tap into the need and the need for every aspect and every corner of our reality, on how to really navigate this transitional experience that our whole entire planet will move through. The vibrational navigation, the understanding of who we are as the passionate exploration of spirit. How do we release those deep wounds that have really so much trauma? When you can, for me, I'm a visionary. I have access to those timelines, and sometimes that's the hardest part, as being your teams will only give you what you can experience, but there's been those experiences, those dark nights of the soul, where I can see those timelines,
Mm-hmm.
and they're nothing that anyone should really see. It's traumatic, and that's why many of us go through, post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Right.
Because you especially as an empath, when you cry at commercials and greeting cards, you cannot help but be transformed. And why, how to navigate those experiences, like that we've been through as a collective, with spell work and mind control, and the manipulations that some play in trying to control outcome and trying to control whatever they think they're trying to control. There's a reason why we all contract those experiences, but how to transition through acceptance and through acknowledgement, through compassion, and rewriting your own story and calling the health back to your body. Because my experience was very, very traumatic. And for me, as a spiritual visionary and a spiritual conduit, and there's very few people that understand the damage that was done. And it's going to take a while for me to fully and completely heal. But this is what the children go through, and why I went through what I did, because I am a mirror to many of the crystal children, and they don't have a voice, right? There's no voice for them. And so how to navigate and how to understand, sensing energy, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, how to honor your body, how to clear your fields, how to stand in your truth, how to clear out and stand in your power to say no, enough is enough, and draw the line, and really close the door and walk away from absolutely what is demeaning you and degrading you in any vibrational way. Whether it comes forward, and this is what many have the problem in justifying. So many women go through this, and so many minorities, and even aged groups. I've read so many groups about the aged being disenfranchised this way, even back in college when I took, criminology and women's studies. The disenfranchisement of those, that all of these abuses and the abuse of power are really covert in many ways, where, the withholding of information, the withholding of money, the withholding of affection, the emotional bodies, anything that is withheld at any level creates a really steeped and deep wound of lack of sense of self. Because the spirit and the child looks to the outside world for love and affection and belonging. And so those that operate in those experiences of lack and manipulation and want to project that onto others and start behaving in that way are those that experience those same wounds, and those woundings that those create and project onto others, or give to others and treat others in that way. Manipulation of love and affection and are all those woundings to feed the ego and to feed the essence that has not been resolved within. To know that we can only nourish ourselves, that we can only heal and create that story of value for ourselves. But because we've been in that upside down experience, we've never been taught these things, and those deep traumatic wounds of withholding of love, the withholding of information of who am I, why am I here, and having those really expansive co-creative experiences that I've always had with my kids, because I knew they've come as, you know, brilliant and beautiful, intelligent beings that were far beyond what anybody would give them credit for. All children are, but we don't necessarily have those expansive communications of their potentiality. And they need that because their outside world is showing them nothing of it, or even asking for their voice or opinion. And so all of those,
anything, it's trying to be silenced.
Well, yeah. And this is where our whole reality is now saying, okay, well, is this really my story? And is this really what I want to move within? And we get to question ourselves. And when those passions get ignited and we see those tragedies that occur in our reality, they're coming forward for a reason. And it's about our acceptance of it, not protesting it, not fighting against it, not trying to fit it back into a smaller system. No, let the wounding come forward. Let the unveiling of the corruption come forward. Let the unveiling of, the traumas that need to be healed. And that's where we got to start. We got to start at where the wound is. And that wound is at our very earliest experiences of not knowing who we are within, and not feeding ourselves and nourishing ourselves as spirit, and not needing anything outside to occur, in which we create systems and corruptive systems and underground systems and all of these things that are, degrading to sense of spiritual self, the sense of who we are as beings of light. we're so beautiful and sacred and precious. And all of these experiences are necessary and needed for us to wake up, to say, is this what we really want for the value of who we are? Would we really want the devaluing of hundreds and hundreds of women just to go missing without saying, okay, let's think of a higher resolve here. How can we resolve this in a higher vibrational manner so that it doesn't ever occur in a way that would ever occur again? The value of who we are, the compassion of who we are, the passion of who we are to express and explore and experience ourselves. And for the children to have their voices as a collective known and heard and valued and honored and lifted up, and created whole systems around them. Create systems of exploration and creativity around them, because they are so gifted, and putting them in these experiences of traditional routine or not serving and on any level. It's not bringing those higher vibrational knowings of who they are in their orientation of a new world being birthed. They're incompatible, right? Our 5D world requires that we align with spirit to heal these most traumatic experiences. If you're in a household of narcissism, covert narcissism, where things are being hidden and hid and covertly manipulating the spirit of what the spirit knows is true, and this is done on an ongoing basis over and over and over and over and over again, those that are in that experience are affected at a very deep soulful level, because the spirit knows in and of itself what truth is. It can sense it. And then you end up playing those games because the outer reality says, oh no, nothing's going on. And then you're being told and totally distracted from what you know what truth is. And it really deconstructs the whole entire experience of who you are as self. And so, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think that it will be the children that wake up the masses?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. That's why many of us woke up. Many of us have come here to serve, the collectives on all minority groups, to give them a voice. Why do we even have minorities?
Right.
Why do we? Why would we even want to have that classification? Why would we want
just more separation, more layers of the separation away from our divine creator?
Yes, because it's given us, again, it goes to that outer egocentric definition and value. Who are we? Why do I need a classification? Why would I even need one? Why can't I just have
Right.
my own? You know, why are these experiences even required? And we will get to those results because we are going to be aligning straight with spirit, and the middlemen and all of these things that we've created won't be needed, because we will receive all that we need from spirit, and it will be through the creative path and of who we are to offer it, right? Every being that comes on our planet comes with the access of their unique experiences in all of their chakras and all of their Akashic timelines and all of their lineage and all that they are as a being. The more that they open and align with their harmony of who they are as spirit, their soul, their Akash, all that they are, those experiences will just come forward and be that passionate expression, whether it's artistry, whether it's Reiki healing, and we call it Reiki, but it's much more than that. That's just one modality. They've been, you know, putting names and words on things just to make, because that's how our mind understands things. But healing is healing. You can heal through a beautiful vibrational song. You can heal through your light language. You can heal through having a beautiful conversation like this, where, wow, things just make sense. And I get what I need to do now. I'm going to go within and start rewriting my story. Who am I? Why am I here? And how can I really get engaged? And how can I be a part of this passionate experience that everybody on planet Earth is awakening to?
How would you explain the Akash to somebody that is maybe just kind of realizing that they're becoming awakening and they want to
that's wonderful.
start to work?
Yeah.
They want to start to work through some things. How would you explain what the Akash is?
Well, the first thing they showed me is a child that's born and they automatically know how to do math or algebra, or they automatically know how to get on a piano and play. We think about it again as the passionate gifts of why anyone is born and why anybody is brought here. It's the passion and the beautiful contract that a soul and spirit make together and say, you know, let's bring some beautiful passion to this planet. How can you co-create? And that's essentially what that is. It's about the passionate evolution of the creator. It also then is also equally linked, as we often say, you know, because we're a planet in separation right now, we're going through ascension, that Akash also carries equal traumas and psyche wounds that need to be healed. And through its delivery of moment for moment life. And we call in those co-creative partners, and why every soul's journey, whether you're the abuser or the one abused, every soul's journey is a co-creative contract. Because those wounds have to be tapped into, because they're held within the chakras. They're held within those deep traumas of the psyche that need to be pulled forward through the now triggering. And so those triggers are your greatest portals. So the Akash is a beautiful experience of all that you've experienced on any timeline. And again, so Jesus, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Jesus. Of the various the ways and the levels and the layers that the Akash can be offered in attribute, contribution, and attribution. That when you're a soul coming in and you require a certain skill or a memory or an experience, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Spirit. I don't know if I'm going to explain this, but I'll try. As a soul, you come into your highest excitement would be to create this. And you require an experience of this, this, and this, so that you can get to the vibration of knowing how to heal something so that you can create this. And I'm only giving this one example because there's many ways that this can be taken. A soul would then take an overlay. An overlay is something taken from another aspect of your soul's Akash, not necessarily the body that you experienced it in. It could be somebody from your soul family. You take an overlay of their experience, vibration, it's all vibration. This vibrational overlay can be placed within your blueprint of soul. I'm so grateful, thank you, because this is what happens to me all the time with my soul family. My soul family of the ascended masters that I come from, we work with overlays so that I can see the collective experience, because I'm able to teach it at a collective level, so that I have a vibrational experience, because everything for me is vibration. I can see an experience, say, from before Christ. I can have that experience placed within, it's called an overlay, a vibrational overlay in my soul and my field, my chakras. Again, it's a multidimensional experience. It can be in the fields, it can be in the chakras, it can be in your experience. It doesn't matter where it is. But these overlays are chosen at the highest level of the divine mind and plan, so that you can have that experience available to you, so that you can heal it for the collective as well as your soul family, as well as open up that creative activation to get you where you need and want to be.
Beautiful.
So this is very deep and this is very profound, and we'll end it off here. this plays in a myriad of different ways and exciting ways, because oftentimes, because we are in an experience, like many of us, especially from my childhood and my experiences, there were not a lot of vibrational activations that I could get to activate me to higher and outer levels, because the awakenedness was just not there. So sometimes we take on overlays to be that activation for us and get triggered in different ways so that we can get to that same level of clarity when that density is cleared. And also too, it allows us that expansive vibrational view, perspective, vibrationally, from that overlay. You didn't necessarily have to live it in that lifetime, but that person gave that overlay to you so that you could experience it on behalf of them, because you needed it in this lifetime to see and perceive and to view and to have available what you need to receive and transmute and translate that information, because it's all vibration.
So it's almost like a filing cabinet, if you
Yes.
will, that kind of comes with
Yes.
you, and you
Yes.
can kind of pull either an experience or a trauma,
yes.
or a piece of knowledge out, and
Yes.
it's kind of what collectively makes you up.
Yeah. So if this is, yeah, that's exactly what you're saying. So they're packets of information, right? So you and spirit, you and your soul, and is here, and all of the bodies you've had, all of your experiences, all the forms, all the colors of races that you've had, sex, anything that you are in any realm, any planet, any earth experience, all now, because there's only now. So you're going through something, you're going to have this profound experience where you're going to want to be this experience on earth, and you're going to want to experience yourself, say, as a teacher, as a profound spiritual teacher or something. Your past lifetimes, we say past now, might not have this one experience that, say, your aunt and your mother did from another lifetime. So they're going to take on and gift it to you, that vibrational packet. So this vibrational packet will go within the multidimensional systems. And when you have those similar vibrational musings, ponderings, triggers, concerns you want to research and things, like all of those are vibrational triggers that make you want to research, look more, seek more. It's always that trigger to be more, whether it's taking a class, whether you're really inspired to create a painting, all of those are vibrational threadings that get you to something that will unfold. That's just like, wow, why did that happen? It's life-changing, life-altering. It doesn't necessarily belong to you. You weren't the body that experienced it, but it was in your soul family. And it was a very important part of your evolution and your soul's lesson, because you had to have that vibrational experience somehow, some way, to trigger you up into an experience that you really needed for whatever reason. And it can be for whatever reason that you want. It's up to you and your soul and your higher self and the greater collective of who you come with that says, yes, she really needs that. Let's give her an overlay. Because it just wasn't available in my reality experience. There was nobody there to trigger those activations for me. And why we have those experiences like twin flames and soulmates and counterparts and whatever they're called, the words don't really matter. They're because they're the wounding and the experiences and the psyche experiences and what they come with on their soul's blueprint have similar vibrational triggers where you can trigger and activate what's needed in one another. And so it's always aligned with soul growth, always. And for the compassionate love and evolution for humanity and for all it is.
That's beautiful. I love the way that.
Yeah.
That's just, I could talk about this for hours with you. I could even talk to you. I could take up a whole podcast just to talk about the difference between soulmates or twin flames and heart-centered soulmates.
Yes, we will absolutely.
Okay.
So let's end this off by saying that we connect on a weekly and always we're on a regular basis, because it's always about realigning with who we are as spirit and really expanding and going deep within these things. Because oftentimes, again, we said earlier that most people and many people don't have these expansive portholes and doorways and permission slips that they have around them to get this deep and this wide with what they're going through, and know that there's always portals here on this YouTube channel to explore and express, but also to our classes and our webinars. And I'd like to have a beautiful, just a personal experience from you, because you have been in all of our offerings, whether it's a class, a personal coaching session, personal vocational session, where you're aligning your vocations and your gifts. And just before we end off here, our links are below, and we're going to have these weekly videos of sacred communion and interview style, where we're calling in beautiful channels. We're talking about collective issues, how it's going to relate to personal and family issues. Everybody's moving through these beautiful transitions, and how we're here to help and offer communion and the path forward of great celebration and great exploration.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so give me an example of, just give us a quick feedback for anybody that is thinking about having a private session with me, a personal intuitive session, connecting with any one of our classes that we offer for Sacred Soul Tribe Communion and Exploration. What is your, what's your feedback on our classes?
Wow.
And how it's helping?
I mean, I told you that it was like I took the Joanna Ascension accelerated course. It made me more aware of things like the Akashic records. You know, before I got connected with you, I did do I took an astral class, an astral travel class. And so I thought, wow, this is interesting, but I kind of didn't know what it was, to be honest, but I felt compelled. My spirit was like, keep going with this, keep going with this. And so I'm an open person.
Yeah.
So, and I trust my spirit of knowing. So I know that I'm not going to be drawn to something that isn't going to benefit, and help me grow. So then after I took that, I end up finding you. And then after I end up finding you, I mean, the first session we had, you literally like fall right through me, but in the best kind of way. It was like, this is what I needed. I needed somebody to like see me, but tell me what they see, so that I knew it was okay to step into the gifts and the blessings and the things that I deserve. But I was having trouble. I was kind of stuck in my ascension process. And you have helped me push through so many things. And you've taught me just different things that I can do within myself, where I don't even need to have a connection or a session with you, although I would love to every day, just to keep myself clear, keep myself grounded. And it is well worth the time to put into yourself. Because literally within the first session that I had with you, I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt validated. And I know that we don't need those things to be external, but I felt that you saw me internally.
The soul.
Yes, you saw me. I could feel it. It just emanates from you.
What I noticed about you in our transition together is that you feel so much more driven about your passionate purpose here on earth. Like you feel just your energy that you're coming forward is just like, let's get busy. We got this. Like, you're just you're like a leader. You're really a leader now. And not that you weren't then, because I didn't know you, right? I didn't know you before, but we had an instant soul connection. And I felt that connection right away when we turned, we were Pleiadian co-workers. And, in the Pleiadian way that you could be a coworker, which is kind of ridiculous.
I prefer sisters, Pleiadian sisters.
And so, but that's why spirit threads us together. Like we're so, we're so threaded, and we don't know why we get those threads and those pings to go to a coffee shop or get a book or whatever spirit sends us. Beautiful threads of synchronicity, but we're sent them. And I know that every person that comes before me, spirit and God has sent for some reason, whether it's for their healing, my healing, just a communion, just to say, hey, I remember you, and activate something in the field that we often don't even understand, all of the wisdoms and beauty that we have in our fields. But you feel so much, your energy and your vibration just feels so much more certain and more confident and more clear about, who you are. How do you think you feel as regards to your direction and your purpose kind of thing?
I'm super clear. And I feel lighter. And I feel like, I would say, because I am an empath, I can feel energies very easily, very quickly. And I honestly think the clearing out of my field, of my Akash, of the karma, all that stuff, I think that was dense around me, and I didn't even realize it. Like when I walk faster, I walk quicker, and it's just, there's no other explanation for it. And until you live it, you might not understand what I'm saying, but I encourage anybody that's watching that is even like this bit curious to just like take the step forward, because it will expand not only your personal growth, but what it will do, you know, for your family, for the people that you encounter. You just never know who you're going to touch. Like you said, in a coffee shop, you have no idea who you're going to touch and when within any given day. So it's just been such a beautiful experience. And
I'm so proud of you, because they just showed me a vision of you and how your connection affected your mother and the people that you've been in connection since, you know, your family members and your friends that you've had these distinct experiences with, that have recognized your shift in your spiritual perspective, who you are as spirit. And so I've just seen an incredible, you know, difference in your vibration and your certainty. And that's just, I mean, for divine feminine, that's I mean, if I could go through just every day knowing that I was a part of someone's journey to inspire that, I'm very humbled, and I'm in such reverence of everybody that comes to my door, because I understand. I understand, you know, how not having money or, you know, anything that's in your name, and the challenges that we go through and the insecurities that we feel sometimes, and how we really literally feel beaten down, you know, through the many dysfunctions.
Weighed down with it, you know. Just it feels great to feel lighter, to move lighter, to just think lighter, to just all of it. So I can't thank you enough for.
I love you.
I love you too.
And seeing our Pleiadian aspects, just holding hands and being in sacredness, and for the heavenly councils and the beautiful star council and the ascended masters. Thank you. And I'm calling in the beautiful gratitude for Jesus and Mother Mary that are always with us, and that the greatest sacred creators of all time, always, all life, living through us in every moment to inspire us to live as passionate, creative beings of light that we've become, knowing and awakened and excited and celebrated of who we are as creative experiences here on a beautiful planet, transmuting and transforming and transcending into something really, really incredible. So we're so excited, and we thank everybody that is spirit, and in great reverence of all that is life. Thank you, Spirit. I'm so grateful to have this communion with you. And we wanted to say goodbye, everyone. Our links are below that you would like to join us and call upon us, because we're going to have many more wonderful discussions, and hoping that we can make all of these communications and conversations that really need to be had about who we are as spirit, what we really truly exist within, and what exists within us, and an open, beautiful, creative exploration with your children, and have them come forward in their highest exploration and expression, so that we break all conformity, break all routines, and start stepping into this beautiful experience of 5D. Thank you. And Christina, we would love to hear a final word as we send everybody off. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I just want to tell everyone and encourage them to stay curious, stay aligned, and to stay open to possibilities.
Yeah. That's right. A curious heart is always going to find a magic and a mystery and a miracle, right? That's your child. Yeah, we're so grateful. And we thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching us today, and for being a part of our beautiful and sacred communion as we're discussing our own personal experiences, our own personal explorations, and our realignment with who we are as spirit, and the sovereignty that each of us have the birthright to explore and to express and experience ourselves as free and liberated spirits of sacred, really, really beautiful experiences of spirit creating matter on a beautiful earth that needs us. We're so grateful. Thank you, dear lighted ones. We love you. Bye. Rainbow tickles.